Man, so Odell Beckham just came out and talked about the struggles of having $100 million contract.
You start breaking down the numbers, it's like, that's a 5-year span of where you're getting $8 million. Can you make that last forever?
100 million can't last you a lifetime? Could you imagine you are young, you're fit, you play college sports, and then you get drafted into the NFL? Those few young men who are able to do that aren't able to retain the money that they earn and go flat broke.
When you've sacrificed your whole life to get here, and you're like, yeah, I played 10 years in the league. And I always explain this to people, like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. You're getting taxed. Do the math. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use, save, invest, flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna get my mama a house, I'm gonna do, everything costs money. So if you spending $4 million a year, that's really 40 million over 5 years, 8 a year, And now you start breaking down the numbers, it's like, that's a 5-year span of where you're getting $8 million. Can you make that last forever? And you always hear the people who ain't us and ain't been in the position, like, oh, well, that would last a lifetime. Yeah, this job that I sacrificed my whole life for, they are giving me that. I didn't ask for the certain dollar amount or whatever, but we weren't taught about no financial literacy and all the way. We weren't
talk about it all the time.
We weren't taught this skill, and it's kind of like.
So I don't know which sport he played, but he clearly got concussed and hit multiple times. Maybe he has CTE because he's saying some of the dumbest statements. 100 million can't last you a lifetime? I really like the bit at the end where he says, no one taught me how to save money. You watching. Has anyone taught you how to save money? Maybe you were lucky to have parents who loved and cared about you and taught you about finances. But when you make $100 million over the course of 12 years for something that you worked long and hard about, and I'm not saying this to discredit how much he's worked. He probably worked his ass off, right? Professional sports players, they are no joke on their work ethic. They are athletes through and through. They are doing so much. They're doing drills. Again, I've never been an athlete at all, to my dad's sadness, but I don't think you're working as hard as like the single parents who are working 3-4 jobs, or really anyone who's working multiple jobs and doesn't have like the luxury to buy a house for their mom, buy a luxury car, buy a luxury car, let alone rent a luxury car for a day, go on vacation, stuff like that. So when you have that much money, it's kind of on you to at least go on YouTube and learn personal finance. You need to go learn some personal finance as well. Go brush up on your personal finance skills. I don't care who you're watching. You could watch Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, the Money Guys, or whoever. Learn about different saving strategies. Learn about the FIRE movement. If you know what that is, let me know in the comments. But it is up to you to learn about your finances. And so the comments are kind of roasting him here. They're like, listen, Odell, I get paid $16 an hour, so from all of us, shut up. He's out of touch. Why would he be spending $4 million a year? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Makes no sense. Exactly, Odell. House under $1 million, car under 100,000. How can't that last? And getting a house for $1 million, and that's like cheap for you? This man's ridiculous for real.
Man, so Odell Beckham just came out and talked about the struggles of having $100 million contract. He said the money don't last forever. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I don't care if you had $100 million and I ain't had it. This shit is cat. If you can't make $100 million last a lifetime, you doing something wrong. Even if you got $100 million and they take taxes out, let's say that's $50 million. That still should be able to last a lifetime. The problem is you spending all that money on shit that you want, not on shit you need. If he talk about living lavish, buying Lambos, buying Rolls Royce, taking care of 15 people that don't want shit in life, buying different women Birkin bags for $30,000, paying all they rent even though that ain't your girl. Hell nah, it ain't gonna last if you doing all that. Everything that these athletes spending money on, you don't gotta do that. You making that choice. That's why the money don't last. If you worked your way up and made it out the struggle, you shouldn't have to take care of 15 other people. I seen an ex-player say he spent $250,000 a month on family. I ain't saying don't love your family, but that's why most of y'all go broke. That's how you create lazy people, by just giving them a handout. Facts.
And that's another thing. You can support your family members, but supporting 15 people, like, did they all have equal part in raising you? At some point, maybe, pay back your mother, your father, whoever raised you, your grandparents, but then move on. Don't have it be recurring payments. If you want to take them out for vacations, once every other year, that's totally fine, but it needs to be within your finances where where you're not to the point where you're saying $100 million doesn't last you a lifetime. Do you think people even make $1 million in their lifetime? Most of the world is making under like $1,000 a month. And they make it work, and they're probably they're happier than you are. Again, don't be spending all this money on girls. Why are you trying to get girls with your money? You are attracting what apparently you want. If you want someone who just wants you for your money, that's sad. Why don't you want someone who wants you?
There's a young man from my neighborhood who made it to the NFL. I'm so proud of him. And they had a bye week. He comes home and he sees me outside cutting the grass. He's Mr. Swole, OG. And I said, man, that's a nice car you got. And he said, yeah, man. He said, it's a such and such. I forgot the name of it. Very expensive sports car. So he's telling me about the car and how much it costs. And I asked him, I said, can I ask you a personal question? I said, how much insurance policies do you have on yourself? He's like, huh? I said, how much insurance, life insurance, you have on yourself? He said, none. I said, have you ever heard of the Rockefeller waterfall theory? He said, no, what is it? I sat there and I explained to him about generational wealth, how people, very wealthy people, get rich off the insurance policies, life insurance policies, tax exemption. The Rockefellers made 65% of their fortune on life insurance policies. So I'm sitting there explaining to him, and I asked him, I said, this is your signing bonus this year. What'd you spend it on? He said, I got a brand new car. I brought my mom a brand new car. I brought my daddy a brand new car. I bought my brother and my two sisters a brand new car. I brought my mom a brand new house. And he said, I brought my daddy a brand new house because they separated. I paid for my sister's college tuition for the next 4 years. And I said, well, let's get a pen and paper. So we add up everything that he spent his money on. I said, son, you've already spent 70% of your signing bonus. 70%. And he was like, wow. I said, you gotta start thinking. You gotta start thinking.
And that's the thing. 70% of his signing bonus, and he was able to do all of that. That's a huge signing bonus. Oh my goodness. Buy everybody a house and pay for their college tuition and buy everyone a car. That's incredible. Now, maybe he was making, lesser purchases, lesser than Odell, who's complaining about 100 million. That is still too funny to me. But listening to what Mr. Swole here has to say, OG, it all makes sense. Like, you really need to put pen and paper to what you're spending, especially if you never had this amount of money before in your life. Going from zero to even $1 million is incredible. Please watch how much you're spending so that we don't get this out of touch entitlement later on down the road. I would have thought that the NFL has seminars for new draft picks to teach this stuff. They do, but the players listen more to their agents. Oh, so it's the agents. And, make yourself look more flashy and stuff. You want to be more low key with your wealth. Be more quiet with it. Have money for later, for your kids. And if you can have money for your kids' kids and their kids, you really set your family up for success. Seems like the NFL and other sports teams would have some type of program to help the players in their financial goals. And apparently they do, but again, and that's when they say you can teach high schoolers personal finance, but are they really gonna pay attention? People who are getting drafted into the NFL, they're still really young. Their brains haven't fully developed yet, and then of course they're gonna get racked around. Hopefully no one's getting CTE anymore, but that's still a thing. But they're not gonna be paying attention to that. If someone gave you $1 million, are you more excited to sit in a seminar where some boring guy is talking to you about how to save and invest your money, or are you excited to blow it on a luxury car, buy your mom and dad a house, and really give back to your community who helped you out? You probably are more excited with that option.
NFL players who lost all their money back in the early 2000s. Terrell Owens was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Over his 15-year career, he made around $80 million, dominating the field with his speed, size, and legendary touchdown celebration. But despite all that money, he lost almost everything. You see, Owens didn't just spend money, he burned through it. He lived a lavish lifestyle, buying expensive cars, designer clothes, and even a massive mansion. And while that might not seem unusual for an NFL star, there was one problem. He wasn't keeping track of where his money was actually going. The thing is, Owens trusted financial advisors who made risky investments and mismanaged his money. On top of that, he had to pay nearly $45,000 a month in child support for his 4 kids. And by 2011, just a year after leaving the league, he was struggling to pay his bills. But it gets even worse. You see, Owens tried to make a comeback in the NFL, hoping to fix his financial situation, but no team wanted him since he was in his his late 30s, so with no steady income, he lost almost everything, and just like that, one of the greatest wide receivers in NFL history was broke.
I can't even imagine. But again, how do you blow through $80 million? And if we're going to talk about the child support payments, and see what the child support payments, right? That was $45,000 a month, and that is $540,000 a year. So basically $500,000 a year if we round down. This is why again, the most important financial decision that any person can make is choosing your partner, okay? If you have any sort of assets, you need to protect them, get a prenup, but especially choose the right person. Please. Or just stay single, for real. Just stay single.
You take any other industry, you're getting paid 52 weeks out of the year. In the NFL, it's different. You're only getting paid 17 weeks. The rookie minimum is $450,000 a year. Instead of getting paid that divided by 52, that divided by 17 is $26,000. So now you're giving a 23-year-old $26,000 week one. Cool. So if I got $26,000, I can spend 10 and be all right. So spend $10,000 week one. Week two, get 26, spend 10. Week three, get 26, spend 10. And then the off season starts, January 1st. Spend 10, make 0. January 7th, spend 10, make 0. January 14th, same exact thing. But now on top of that, they're home with their friends. So now, gotta go out, I gotta pay the tab, right? Gotta impress all your friends, gotta take them out to different vacations, to Miami, take them to Las Vegas. Gotta get the private jet because we're too good to actually fly on planes. And quickly the money.
Okay, so that adds a lot more context to how players go broke. I'm not really excusing it because if you are getting this much money, you really need to take financial literacy incredibly important. Take it just very seriously. If you're getting paid for, what did he say, like 26 weeks? So that's half the year. And then the other half, you're getting paid 0, but you're still maintaining those expenses. You should still have money with the 10,000 that he was saying with the 26,000, but that's neither here nor there. What they should be doing is laying it all out. How much do I need to live and to save? Realistically, these people should be able to save like 80 at minimum % of their paycheck and then spend the rest on, whatever. You can splurge, have fun, but you shouldn't always be spending loads of money on your friends. You can do that like once a year. I don't know how people are able to have fun with their friends every year. Maybe they don't have jobs and they're being bankrolled by their friend, which is terrible. Don't be that kind of friend. It's so easy to say I have no sympathy, but in reality, most people would spend all of their money too, especially in your early 20s. Exactly. Most people do not have impulse control. Like if you have all of this money, then you're just going to want to spend it. I feel so bad for the people making millions for playing a game. I mean, they are playing a game, but they're also low-key kind of messing with their heads, especially if you're in the NFL. The possibility of getting brain injuries that will affect the rest of your life is higher than the average Joe working, right? However, of course, the damage to your body from other jobs like being an electrician, where you're doing more manual labor, that is also pretty high, oh my goodness, it just makes me feel so bad for like carpenters. There's a reason why not a lot of people are carpenters anymore and they're moving on to different blue collar jobs, right? Because carpenters, when they get older, their bodies hurt when they're old. NFL players, I would assume that their bodies hurt too, but they get to have the luxury of retiring at an early age, like in their 30s. But they have to make that money last, and no one seems to really be acknowledging that they really do need to save that money for future them instead of having fun in the present.
Number one, lavish spending. Yes, there are a lot of players that live above their means. Just because you're in the NFL does not mean that you're a millionaire. Now, what should be number two, and it's not, should be taxes. You know who that is, Knockin'?
Who that, bud?
Uncle Sam.
Damn.
He gonna get his money too.
I mean, yeah, and NFL players are probably spending, 40% of their earnings on taxes? Let's see. So it's saying here that NFL players generally spend roughly 40 to over 50% of their income on taxes, depending, of course, on their state of residence. If you're in a state that has state income tax, you're probably paying more than someone who's in Florida where they don't have income tax. I could not even imagine. So again, with Odell having the 100 million, that's really more like having 50 million, but even with $50 million, my guy, that should last you and your family a lifetime if you're investing it properly. If you were a professional athlete, or if you actually were one, would you have gone broke like them? Drop your thoughts below. Like the video if you like it, dislike if you dislike it, and I'll see you in the next one. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one next.